FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio.
Well, I thought that late-day rally that we saw probably started around 3 o'clock when the word went out that the president would not address the country. There was cheering, hats thrown in the air, and general irrational exuberance.
Charles Krauthammer always cracks me up because his delivery is so deadpanned. And even when he's at his most caustic, he still seems friendly. And the people whose heads over which it flies after they listen to him, they don't realize until after it's over that they've just been eviscerated. And I love commentary like that, which is one of the reasons, a huge reason why I love the work of our first guest, Mark Steyn, New York Times bestselling author. His book, America Alone, I know I've recommended it to all of you out there at least, once or twice a day. I read it twice. It looks much abused. It's sitting on my bookshelf, and I was very excited to get his latest book, After America, Get Ready for Armageddon, and the cover is jarring, purposefully so. It's Uncle Sam with a toe tag on. And I have to say, Mark, first of all, I'm a huge fan, and thanks so much for joining me this afternoon.
No, thank you, Dana. Thank you, by the way, for your, I think it was a tweet over the weekend where you said you thought After America was even better than America Alone. I was very heartened by that.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad you were. I'm glad. Well, and I know that America Alone, that was the book that focused on how every other country around ours, how every other country on the planet is crumbling. And I've quoted it so often on this show because you really made some points that I've never heard made anywhere else. And with this book, After America, you focus on what's happening particularly with our country, with the United States, and you really hit some amazing points on the economy especially. And after we saw everything that happened with Wisconsin last night, I think maybe I'm hopeful that some tables are turning. But one of the things that I and I'm a third of the way through this book, by the way, already, you wrote that we're not really a free country in the United States, that we have this system under it's you were comparing it to the jizya system in Muslim countries where you have Muslims that tax non-Muslims, and you made this comparison to our tax system in your book, and I want you to explain that to the audience. I thought that was a great point.
Yeah, I think if you look at the federal income tax system, where basically 49% of people pay no federal income tax, and between the 49% who don't pay and the vast government workforce, you have an electoral majority that is in a position to bleed the productive class, who are caught in the middle between them. And it's exactly, by the way, which is why I call it like the Muslim jizya, what the Muslim empire did to infidels within the empire, who basically ran all the commercial enterprises, and they basically would shake them down and transfer the money to unproductive Muslims throughout the Muslim world. You can actually see it in the landscape in Bosnia, where eventually the Christian tradesmen wised up and fled to the hills where they were further away from the tax collectors. The question now is, if you're being shaken down to provide for the next multi-trillion-dollar stimulus that Obama and these other crazies are cooking up, where are you going to flee to? And that's the situation that this country's beleaguered productive class is in.
Right, and you draw you come from that particular example, and you also discuss how this relates to American exceptionalism after 9/11. And there was a huge portion of the third of the book that I've read so far, and I thought it was very interesting. I know I've looked at these, and they've made it look very nice. It's this 9/11 memorial, but it's still this huge gaping hole in the Manhattan skyline. And you were discussing how Chrysler and GM, they were having this skyscraper competition, right. And the Hoover Dam was built during a time of a depression, and the Japanese have recovered so quickly, especially after the earthquake and tsunami. But here in the United States, it's been 10 years, and we don't have that skyline restored. And I thought that is that an example, do you think, now of American mediocrity?
Yeah, I think Americans should be ashamed of that whole, because 9/11 is something our enemies did to us. But the 10-year hole we did to ourselves. And we should have. You mentioned the Chrysler and GM guys. The Empire State Building went up in 18 months in a depression. And that is the America we all think that is still out there. The restless energy, the search for the new, for something bigger, taller, reach for the skies, which is present in a lot of stuff. It's in America the Beautiful. Everyone thinks America the Beautiful is about the purple mountain majesties and amber waves of grain, but it's actually got a verse in there that's a hymn to the white city, to the alabaster gleam of modern skyscrapers at the big exposition in Chicago. That modernity is part of America too, and if we can't put up a building in 10 years, what the hell are we doing? It takes 10 years of permitting and zoning and regulation. The whole is telling us far more about the state of America in the 21st century than anything Osama bin Laden did to those towers.
Exactly. And the regulation part especially is something that it's preventing Americans from participating in civics here in the United States. And you gave examples of the lemonade stands, and that really is being suppressed. And that's something that we're seeing everywhere. And we're also seeing it with the elections last night, which I think kind of ties into some of this that you mentioned in your book, After America, with the results from, you have progressives in Wisconsin that didn't like the way the results came around the first time. So they decide to, well, let's try it again and see if they come out how we would like it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, because we see this civic suppression, and because we see this redefinition of American exceptionalism, and we see this redefinition of even the electoral process. At what point, how do you even begin to combat all of this? Because it's become so pervasive in almost every aspect of American government and civics and culture.
Well, I think you roll it back from the ground up. So you don't do what Obama stood up and said, we basically cut defense and discretionary spending as much as we can. So there's nothing there. Now, that's ridiculous. Anyone who stands on any four-way intersection anywhere in the country can look in any direction and see examples of government waste. And so you should resist that at every level. You should resist it at the federal level, at the state level, at the county, municipal, and school district level. So because these guys should be on the defensive. I mean, you mentioned lemonade stands. For the most part, that's municipal police forces enforcing state regulation. Well,
Right.
Don't let them do it. Make it a town cop feel like an idiot. Feel like the scuzziest guy on the planet if he's going to shut down a 7-year-old schoolgirl's lemonade stand.
Right.
Tell him to get the hell out of there.
Right.
It has to start, and that's and you build from there.
Right. We have to get going. I would love it if you would like to hang on with me after this break.
Okay. Just let me see, Dina.
Okay, all right. Mark Steyn, author of After America. Maybe we'll have him when we return. We appreciate his time nonetheless.